Cricket Talk podcast.
My name's Sam Lee, and I'm the Manchester City correspondent for The Athletic.
My name's Daniyal Khan, and I'm a presenter for Arsenal Football Club.
My name's Davison. I'm a freelance, aspiring journalist and writer covering Arsenal.
We're just going to spend a moment just kind of reflecting on the season gone by, the 2020-21 Premier League campaign. And just for you personally, as an Arsenal fan, what's your overall mood and how's it left you feeling after that season's now finished?
I mean, like most fans, I reckon my answer would be the same, in that, apart from a couple of clubs, in that it's been a season like no other, where what's happened on the pitch has simultaneously been a reason to be upset, but also the fact that the things are still happening on the pitch has been a reason to be happy, because of coronavirus, because of football being interrupted, because fans are not allowed in the stadium. Football has been that one constant that we've been clinging on to for quite a long time. Overall, of course, Arsenal at certain points were closer to the relegation zone than they even were to the top four, and we were flirting with, a 10th, 11th place finish. But in the end, as we often do, which is, I don't get it, but we often do, we finished with 5 wins in a row, and there's all of a sudden this sense of optimism that, well, we can't wait for next season to begin. So it's been a real mixed bag. Didn't expect to go as far back as we did.
Yeah.
I still feel like the young guns and the Hale End massive that are at our club right now give us a reason to be optimistic.
Well, it's been a crazy season, to be honest, especially with COVID and everything, no fans and stuff. But there have definitely been some moments that will always live on. I think of the United 6-1, the Spurs game. I think the Villa 7-2, Alisson's goal, Alisson's last-minute winner as well. And then the last day with Aguero and getting his brace on the last day. There's definitely been some moments that, even though it's not been the greatest of season, and sometimes I think that there's been so much football that has been shoved down our throats at times, but there's still going to be moments that will live on forever, I think.
I mean, it wasn't an easy campaign to love. I mean, from a City point of view, there's obviously a lot of good things, a lot of good games, good performances, a lot of interest. Around the league, it wasn't quite the same, was it? There was a few good stories, of course, like West Ham, Leeds. That was especially interesting. But I mean, a lot of it was a slog, wasn't it? It was a difficult season. Without the fans, it just wasn't the same, of course. So yeah, it wasn't perfect, obviously. I suppose from an Arsenal point of view. Yeah, no, really not perfect at all. Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those where it feels almost like a bit of a lost season for Arsenal. But I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it with Arteta. I think that there's more to come, and as long as they stick with him, which seems like is the case, next season will hopefully be the one for that. But it's difficult this season. It was a bit of a strange one in the end. Kind of similar to other seasons, but with the weird COVID layer to it. So yeah, I mean, it's not a vintage season that too many people will look back to fondly. But obviously, if your team did well, then as is the case for City, then obviously it's a different story.
Well, like you said, Dan, it's been a weird one, hasn't it? A strange season for all sorts of different reasons. Obviously, the main reason is the COVID pandemic, and sadly, not just with sport and with football in particular, but throughout the whole world and our daily lives, it's changed massively over the last year or so. But without those fans in the stadiums over the past season, it's been a big eye opener, hasn't it? It's sort of just gone to show how big a part football fans play in the sport we all love, and we've missed them massively, absolutely. It wasn't quite the same in terms of watching Arsenal every week or any football team for that matter. But as we saw sort of halfway through the season, we had 1 or 2 games with fans in, and then obviously along come the second wave. We had to go back to strict restrictions, and obviously they were put in place again. But I think it was nice to end the season with fans in the stadium. Of course, it would have been even nicer if Arsenal were sort of celebrating a really positive and successful season as well for the Brighton game at the Emirates. But obviously, unfortunately, it wasn't to be, although we got the 3 points. COVID aside and fans aside a second, overall with Arsenal, the season has been atrocious. Nowhere near good enough, nowhere near the standards required for a club such as Arsenal. And it's been a huge eye-opener, in my opinion. If the board, if the Kroenkes, if the players haven't been left feeling a little bit concerned and, asking a lot of questions, then I don't know sort of what will, to be honest. So, look, it's been a really poor season, and a lot of mistakes have been made. And now it's time to start reflecting on that, learning from it, and building over which looks set to be a really huge summer for Arsenal.
100%. So obviously we've had a lot of the Premier League's always had some of the most talented players in the world in it. And this season we've been very blessed to see some immense talent in the league, the likes of Harry Kane having an unbelievable season. Unfortunately, as it pains me to say it, registering, I think he got the Golden Boot and the Playmaker Award for this season. You've had Salah's had a slightly quieter season. De Bruyne has been class above, as he is every year. But is there one player for you, if you have to choose your player of the season, who is it?
Well, like you said, it's a tough one. You mentioned a couple of strong contenders just then, but for me, it's got to be Ruben Diaz at Manchester City.
Okay.
When we take into consideration, he's come into a new country and a new league. He's still relatively young as well.
Only 24, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to put in the performances he has done for Manchester City this season, phenomenal. He's been an absolute brick wall for them at the back this season. Fair play, Manchester City, done the right thing in getting him in. They obviously identified him, and he's shown why. I think I remember Arsenal being linked with him a season or two ago. One of those if onlys, he's been fantastic for Manchester City this season. A really, really crucial player for them in their obviously really successful season as well.
So I think with the Premier League, there seems to have been motion. So at the beginning of the season, you genuinely thought Son and Kane were going to break the record for most goals together in a Premier League season. They were just absolutely ridiculous. Fantasy football was like in a meltdown. If you had Son and Kane, you did a madness. It was just about getting which one was going to be captain on which day. That was it. And they always were messing with me. Gundogan, as you said, in that middle part of the season where City were started with that false nine approach, he was really digging them out in huge moments and kept bringing goals. De Bruyne is De Bruyne, but for me personally, one consistent that has made me go, my word, like we are actually looking at someone that is a generational talent from England. Phil Foden has to be that guy. I think when you talk about a breakthrough season, this one has pretty much been one of the most stunning breakthrough seasons to replace David Silva and come into that team so effortlessly and then keep players like Raheem Sterling out of the team just because you're being so incredible. I think this is Phil Foden's season, man.
No, I think it has to be a City player. Normally it would have to be a player that wins the league, an important player in the team that wins the league.
Okay.
Like you can make exceptions in recent years, like a couple of years ago when City got 100 points and Salah won it. City fans weren't happy about that. But with Salah, at least, it was an amazing season, wasn't it? It was like phenomenal, scoring goal after goal, and they were like spectacular goals as well. So I could see why he won that. De Bruyne obviously got it last year, despite the fact that City didn't play as well as they normally do. This season, I don't see any outstanding candidates like that. I know Bruno Fernandes was a favourite for a long time, but he's had a huge impact on United, like hands down United's player of the year, but not, I don't think he can be considered the best player in the league.
No.
Just no, not for me. Kane, another one. He's been very important for Spurs, but not to the extent that if he'd put Spurs in second or third or something like that, or won the league or another cup or something maybe. But it's not. He's not been that enough to put them right up there. So there's been no outstanding individual outside City, I don't think. Obviously, unfortunately, Grealish's season basically ended 3 months ago. So then it just comes down to picking basically between those three you mentioned at City. Interestingly, City's shortlist is Gundogan, Diaz, and Mahrez. That's the three. De Bruyne, I still think De Bruyne deserves to be in the conversation, even though it's not been his best season. He's been excellent, but just not as super excellent as he normally is. I think if Mahrez is going to be in the conversation, then Foden needs to be as well.
Yeah, very true.
Foden's only been in the team consistently since the start of January, but a really good contribution all the same. So between those five, is there anyone else who deserves extra special mention? Obviously, they've all been good. Bernardo Silva's been really good, good. I think it's between Diaz and Gundogan for me, and I just think Gundogan. Diaz has been like super effective, helped really turn City's fortunes around. He's been the perfect defender, the exact type of figure they need on and off the pitch. Gundogan, I've always liked him as a player. I think he's become really important this season. Goals aren't the biggest part of his game, but they've actually been really important for City. Those goals that came in January and February, really important.
When De Bruyne was in.
Yeah, exactly. And even before that, to help City build that momentum for that winning run they went on. But even when he's not scoring, he can dictate the rhythm of a game. Sometimes if they want something different, obviously he can drop back. A couple of years ago, he played as a holding midfielder instead of Fernandinho. This season, he can do that. He can play somewhere between the two. He can play higher up. He's just so important for the team, and he gives them rhythm. He plays everything at the right tempo. And it's really difficult between him and Diaz, and it's probably easier to quantify Diaz's contribution. But I really like Gundogan. I think I'll just give it to him.
In the Premier League, pains me to say, but I can't see how it's not Harry Kane. We could say whatever we want about his trophy record, whatever, but the guy is just different quality. Like he's just, 23 goals, 14 assists. It's just, that is ridiculous numbers. And I think he's been by far the best player of the season. There was shouts for Ruben Dias as well, I think. But I think Harry Kane's player of the season for me.
Where do you reckon he's going to be off to in the summer?
So that's the thing. I can either answer that by saying where I think he'll go or where I want him to go. I think he will go City. I think he'll go City. I think I know if he's going to leave Spurs, he's going to want to leave for guaranteed trophies, and guaranteed trophies is Man City. So I think he'll go City. But where I want him to go, just for the league, really. No one wants him to go City, and then that's the league done for the next 3 years. So where I want him to go, probably be United. I can't see him leaving the Premier League. I think he's going to go for Shearer's record. So I would say, United 125 mil this summer.
We're now going to go to young player of the season. You would, Foden, if he doesn't win the actual award, he would definitely be in the young player for me. But you've also got the likes of our very own Bukayo Saka, been incredible this season. You've also, Mason Mount's been good. Mason Greenwood at the end of the season's been playing some good football too. But is there someone who would be your young player of the season?
Again, honestly, I have no problem with giving the same award to two players.
Okay.
Sorry, the same award to one player.
Yeah.
And I feel like all the players you named, Little Chilly, Saka is our guy. We love him. He's the future of this football club. 100%. And in a bleak season, he's shown moments of individual flair and also that kind of that almost experience and desire beyond his years. As in he's been trying to actively pick the game up from the scruff of the neck and go at it when we've been in a dark place. He's been great. Mason Greenwood, of course, I think he's yet to have his true breakout season, but he's shown you what he's about, and he's shown that he's here to stay. He's not like a flash in the pan kind of player. But for me, again, Mason Mount has been the surprise package for me out of them, because previously in that creative list of Grealish, Maddison, Mount, I would have put Mount at the bottom of that three-man list. but Mount out of nowhere has developed this consistency and this effectiveness in games that means that he unquestionably has to be a part of, if not the starting lineup at the Euros, he has to be in the situation where he's playing every game, whether it's as a 100%. Sub or as a starter.
I think Tuchel's seen as well that he's now one of the first names on the team sheet for Chelsea.
Yeah, like it's not only he gives us that extra something in attack, but it's his productiveness and it's his consistent right decision making. It's his consistent impact on the pitch that is undeniable. But again, for me, young player, all of that, I have to give it to Foden. Like, this is a title-winning season where Man City went, I think, 24 games where they won every single game in a row. Foden was a huge part of all of that. He came up, I know we're talking about the Premier League, but he came up clutch in key Champions League moments.
Yes,
and this time next week, we could be talking about how Phil Foden was instrumental in City winning a historic treble. So, for me, it doesn't get better than Foden. And I guess that's capped off by the fact that when he won the Under-17s World Cup, I think it was in India, my brother said to me, listen, man, like, these players are amazing. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's amazing. Callum Hudson-Odoi is amazing. But there's this guy called Phil Foden that looks like he could play in the Premier League right now.
Yeah.
So for him to break through in a team like City, I think that deserves all the accolades.
Oh, well, you mentioned Bukayo Saka. I'm sure we'll go on to him in a minute. And touch on what a fantastic season he's had. But Manchester City are winning a double here. I've got to go Phil Foden. What a marvellous season. And what a joy he is to watch as well. We're very, very fortunate that, he's one of our own as well in terms of being English and heading to the Euros, it looks like as well. So I think he'll play a massive role for Gareth Southgate as well, heading into the summer. Yeah, just fantastic. And you know what, I think he's only still 20 years old, isn't he? And he's got a huge future ahead of him. I can see him going right to the very top, that's for sure.
Phil Foden, your young player of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but I mean, it has to be really. Like those players you mentioned, like, when I was talking about Bruno before, I didn't really get the sensation that Bruno Fernandes should have really been in that conversation, really, and even Kane to an extent.
Yeah.
But like with those guys, they're all really good young players. They've all had really good seasons. But I think Foden's just had a better contribution to a better team. And look, maybe the argument could be that Saka, for example, he's lit up a team that's not quite so good, and therefore it's more of an achievement. So I could appreciate that. But I just think, I don't know, maybe this is just because I watch City more than anybody else, and you tend to go with those players in that scenario. But I just think with Foden, he's 20 years old and he's contributing to that team, which is full of players we mentioned already. De Bruyne, 28, 29 years old.
Yeah.
Class player. Bernardo Silva, world class. Gundogan, world class. Mahrez been amazing this season. Before that, it was obviously David Silva in there as well. He deserves to play in this team, and if you don't contribute at a high level, then you're out, which is what's happened with Sterling. Like, he's keeping Raheem Sterling out of the team.
Yeah.
And it's like, although you could make the case like Greenwood as well, I don't always play brilliantly, but sometimes Greenwood pops up and he's the difference, and he really helps a team that sometimes can struggle, and obviously that's more so the case for Saka. Like, I can understand that logic, but I just think you have to be so good and so consistent to do what Foden's doing. Like, that's a big expectation for even players who are 24, 25, 26, let alone 20. For me, it's hands down Foden, but I can appreciate other arguments.
How far do you think you can go, like Phil Foden? Is the sky the limit?
Yeah, I mean, I know people who work around him, and sometimes people who work around players, it's rose tinted specs and that kind of thing. But like they work with other players as well, and I've had conversations with them, and they say, oh yeah, regarding the other players they work with, or one in particular is, it could be a Premier League striker or it could be non-league. It depends on his attitude. So they're honest about the players they work with, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they said with Phil, he could win the Ballon d'Or. He could be the best player in the world. Like the people who know him because of his attitude and how he concentrates on football and being down to earth and that kind of thing, and always wanting to improve, and obviously how good he is already. They just expect big things. And anything can happen in the future. So, I mean, there might be some horrible, horrendous, unfortunate bad luck with injuries or I don't know. But I mean, people who worked with him when he was a kid, I think, two people of the people I spoke to last year when I did an article on him said, they'd be really surprised if Foden never messed his career up because of like an attitude problem or non-application or something. So the people who know him are just, they really do expect big things. And you hear that and you watch him play. So from my point of view, you just think there's nothing the kid can't do. Yeah. Like if he played for like Dortmund or PSG, and we saw, on flicking through Twitter on a Saturday, and he scored another goal or he set up another goal or whatever, like we see with Sancho, we see with Haaland, we see with Mbappe.
Yeah.
I think, God, this kid's amazing. Our team should buy him this summer. He's worth 200 million. Foden's every bit as good as that, if not better. And I think we appreciate how good he is. But in the Premier League, we also see the kind of, it's like warts and all, isn't it? You see all the bad stuff they do, or they're not quite so perfect.
Yeah.
You can kind of overanalyze. Whereas the guys abroad, if you don't see them every week, you just see the goals and stuff. You think these are the 200 million players. But Foden should be in the same bracket as Haaland, Mbappe.
100%.
I'm trying to think. Well, Sancho. I mean, Sancho's amazing, and it's no slight on Sancho whatsoever. But I think Foden's better.
See, there's I don't know. There's just absolutely no way you can say anyone apart from Phil Foden. Phil Foden is just. I don't like. I think with young players, it's annoying because I think football fans get really carried away with some players, and you get labelled this and that, and it doesn't help. When you're a young player getting labelled the next this or the next that, the next Iniesta or Messi, whoever. So I don't think it's helpful for young players when they're trying to go out and just find out who they are. Never mind you're getting these whoever calling them that. But I think Foden is one player in the last couple of years that it just deserves all of the hype. He is the thing. Some of the things that he can do with the football are just it's cliche, but when you hear a player and they say, "Oh, he plays like he's 30," he plays like a seasoned player. He's a magical player. He's going to be huge for City. He's going to be huge for England. I can't wait to see what he does in the Euros this year. But young player season has to be Foden, and it'll be a close race with Mount. Mount's had another great year as well, but I just think Foden has just been the story of the season.